All right, so we've got two questions in this week's Q&A, and I'm just going to jump into them. Great questions here. So Jenna says, with liquidation, specifically 888 lots, is it if it's the same with most, do you find that the site listed manifest, which is MSRP and values of profit, actually line up? So is the retail value of the product listed basically on what they say it's worth on 888 lots? Is that the same? Does that actually line up if you plan to sell it back on Amazon, Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari? Okay. She says with her first few orders, she's not complaining because the value and the margins are amazing, but she has found that they are over 70% or way off base with the MSRPs that are reported on the site. So she's currently fulfilling herself. So yes, I have noticed that. So I don't necessarily go off that. In my opinion, there's basically two ways that I approach it, right? I don't necessarily look at the MSRPs on the site. If you're looking at like a lot manifest specifically, or if you're looking at like individual items, I don't go off of the MSRP and think like that's the profit that I'm going to make back. Really what I do, and this is kind of how I check it out, is I'll approach it two different ways, right? It really depends on whether your goals are to sell back on Amazon or to sell back on Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay, right? There's two different categories. So with Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari, it really goes off feel and what you think you can sell it for. And the best way that you're gonna get that is experience, right? So I've sourced pallets before where it's taken me a while to make my money back. I've also sourced pallets before where they were like shoes, where I spent a lot of money on the shoes and I thought it was gonna be a bad pallet. And then ultimately like 2-3 months later, I had made like a couple $100 and I still had like 20 or 30 pairs of shoes left to sell. I still haven't sold all the shoes in that one pallet that I bought. So that was a great pallet as well. And there have been pallets where I bought them and I haven't necessarily made the money that I was looking for. The items didn't sell. So ultimately, the best way that you're gonna find that out is by buying a pallet. I'd recommend going on the cheaper side if you plan on selling it back on eBay, Poshmark, Mercari. You can also try to do a little bit of product research, although it's not gonna be as effective. The name of the game when you're doing that, and I've covered this in a video before, I'll try to actually link it in the comment section below or depending on where you're watching this in the description. So I've done a video on like how I approach that in the past, so I'll try to link that and I'll try to find that for you. But really ultimately the best way that you're gonna kind of, source for that is by experience, right? Find out what's selling well for you on Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari, and then source more items like that, and you'll be able to use your best judgment. Me, for example, like every time I log on to like a liquidation site, or like a site like 888 lots, which is liquidation obviously, and I'm sourcing for eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, the name of the game with that is just increase your inventory, right? Because the more inventory you have, the more potential sales you're gonna make that month, because there's more potential items selling for you, the more potential profit you'll end up making, right? You wanna build up your inventory, you wanna build up a store full of quality inventory, and then you'll make more sales and you'll make more profit, and you'll build out your profit, your monthly profit kind of that way approaching it. But I just know on like anecdotal experience now, right? So I'll log on to 888 lots like once or twice a week, or some of the other liquidation sites. And if I see like a pallet full of clothes that I know I can sell, and maybe I'm sourcing those for like $1.50 or like $2 or $3 or even 50 cents. I've sourced them for as low as like 20 to 50 cents a unit before. If I'm sourcing something like that, I know firsthand, like, hey, I can afford to spend $200-300 on this pallet right now, knowing full well that in the next couple months, I'm gonna sell that for maybe, $800 to like $1,000 to like $1,500, and I'm willing to put the money in now and slowly sell off that inventory to make a profit over time, right? Because that's my approach, and I just know based on experience. So that's what I'd recommend for you. Start with, and I think you have started with, cashback and coupon, obviously, and then when you move into liquidation to sell on those sites, you'll have more anecdotal experience of like what seems to be selling well, what they're selling well, and you'll know all that stuff intuitively, what the prices that they're selling for are, and you'll be able to source better inventory for that, okay? Now, I think your question specifically, because I kind of tied that into a long answer there, I think your question specifically is pertaining to Amazon, because you said you're currently fulfilling yourself and you're also going off the MSRP. So I would assume that you're probably trying to sell these FBM on Amazon. So in that case, I basically approach it two ways. If I'm just buying individual items, then I'll literally use the MSRP and the sheet that they give you, so like the product catalog list, and I'll put it into Scan Unlimited to see and run all the numbers, right? And then once I sort through the data based on the MSRP in the software, I'll check them, right? So I don't go off what the MSRP says, I'll literally check what they're selling for on Amazon to make sure, right? So if MSRP, for example, says it's selling for $40, but when I click on the Amazon listing, it's selling for $26, I base my profit off the 26 minus the fees, not the reported $40 that 888 lots, basically said that it was worth, right? And vice versa. Sometimes I've seen that like they'll say $40, but it's selling on Amazon for like $58, right? And then I'll base my profit off $58 because that's what it's selling for on Amazon, and not necessarily the $40 that 888 lots inventory, list basically says. So that's how I approach it with individual items, and it's the same with pallets, essentially the same way, right? So I'll run the pallet through the software, Scan Unlimited, and I'll use the MSRP and all the data to basically find, examples of whether or not that pallet looks promising. Then if it doesn't look promising, I'll completely disregard it based on the MSRP and all the numbers, right? And I'll just throw it out and I'll get a new pallet, and I'll look through a new pallet with the software. If it looks promising, then that's where I'll actually spend the time then to actually click on each individual item, see what they are selling for, calculate it with the Amazon FBA calculator or the AMZ Scout calculator. So then I'll basically calculate all my profit, and I'll add it up on like a piece of paper or like a calculator, and I'll start adding it up. Basically like, okay, this one's selling for $40, minus the fees, I'm gonna net 25 on it, right? Something like that, and I'll put $25 profit, so I know if I source this and resell it on Amazon, I'm gonna make 25 bucks, right? And I'll go through all the items in the pallet, and if it's a profitable pallet, if it's worth my time, let's say I'm spending $150 on it, but I can sell all those items back on Amazon for like 400 bucks, then obviously I'm gonna buy it, right? If I'm buying it for 150 and I can sell them all back for 120, then obviously I'm gonna lose money, it's not worth it for me. So that's basically how I approach it. I don't take the MSRP at face value, I always check. So for example, if you're selling it back on Amazon, right? Like I said, I'll always check what the product listing actually is selling for to make sure. If you're planning on selling it back on eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, that's something that's going to vary platform to platform and based on your experience specifically. So I don't necessarily assume that I'm going to sell them all at MSRP on those sites either. I'll list them all originally on MSRP or maybe a little bit above, and then my strategy is always slowly drop the price to build interest and make offers to likers to convert them into sales on all three of those platforms. So that was a great question, Jenna. I really appreciate it, and I really hope that helped. If I didn't clarify it enough for you, feel free to ask another one, and I'd love to answer it for you again, okay? Now, next question is, when it comes to books, I started selling about a month ago, and whatever the book bestseller rank is, he's never able to sell it. I don't even have this button to apply for approval. Instead, it's shown as a restricted item. That applies for all books, even ones that are ranked over 1 million. Any suggestions? So it sounds like you're sourcing, I'm guessing, with either eFlip or Zen Arbitrage, because you're looking at items that way. So when you said you don't have the button to apply for approval, that's strange. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but in that case, if you don't have the button to apply for approval, that's probably just a restricted brand, right? I think there's 3, if I'm not mistaken, there's 3 brands or 3 like main publishers with books that are always restricted. They're just brand restricted. So it probably had to do with that. I think one of them's like Penguin Publishing. The other, I don't remember what the specific ones are, but there's like 3 main publishers that, most people are gated for and you can't sell them anyway. So it could be one of those in that situation. Now you also said you're never able to sell it, no matter the BSR. In that case, it could be another, potential, restricted brand and restricted publisher. The best way, in my opinion, because you did say you started selling about a month ago, is that's normal, right? Like if you just started selling, you're going to be gated for a lot of different things. So the best way to do it is use a bunch of different tools, essentially, in your tool belt to get ungated for more things and build up your seller metrics. The easiest way to get ungated, because you're so new, is you have to prove to Amazon that you can sell things and sell quality inventory and make their customers happy. And then slowly, as you make more and more of their customers happy by improving your seller metrics, right? Simply selling things and getting good feedback or getting good metrics in the back end of your Seller Central, meaning you either shipped it out if you're selling FBM, or if you shipped it into FBA and the customers were satisfied and didn't report any problems back, that's also going to improve your seller metrics and stuff like that. So really the easiest way is just sell more things, okay? So one of the easiest ways, depending on where you live, is you can go to like Letgo, OfferUp, Craigslist, and get a bunch of really, really cheap used books for free. There's always people giving free stuff away and free books. Go get a couple hundred free books, list them all FBM, and sell them off FBM. You might not make very much money. You might even lose a little bit of money, maybe like $1 here or two. Like let's say you sell a book, you lose 20 cents, right? that's okay, because when you're still very, very new and you're only a month old in your seller account, you need to build that trust up. You need to increase your seller metrics because you're so new. And then honestly, like a month from now, if you're selling like even 15 to like 50 books or something like that are like really high BSRs and like, or even lower BSRs, but are used books and not necessarily textbooks, you're gonna increase your seller metrics, and then you'll slowly, Amazon will pull back the veil and you'll be able to get ungated automatically for a lot of other stuff, right? So you just need to increase your seller metrics, sell anything that you can when you're first starting out. The problem is, it sounds like because you just started a month ago, you're pretty much gated for a majority of things. So sell whatever you can. Sell used books, go to Letgo, OfferUp, and Craigslist and get used books for free. That's the easiest way to do it. Another way to do it is sell some retail products. So you can hop on sites like, Slick Deals or GameStop or Source with Source Mogul on, Walmart and all those sites. Sell anything that you can back on Amazon, literally anything. Just getting like 5 sales will slowly, increase your seller metrics, and then you won't run into a lot of these problems. And then maybe if like you're gated for like up to like 750,000 now or whatever, then like slowly as you sell more, it'll be 600,000 and then 500,000 and then 300,000. You get the picture. So sell anything that you can. The easiest way that I always recommend is get used books off Letgo, Craigslist, and OfferUp for free. So hope that helped, guys. Great questions, and I'll see you in the next one.